or something is out there, and it has been shaping your entire existence without your knowledge, without your consent, and without ever once making itself visible to any instrument, any eye, or any technology humanity has ever constructed. It has no face. It emits no light. It absorbs nothing you can detect. It interacts with none of the forces that govern everything you have ever seen, touched, or measured. It passes through walls, through planets, through the entire mass of the earth beneath your feet, through the cells of your body right now, in this moment, as you process these words in quantities so vast and so continuous that the number becomes functionally meaningless the moment you attempt to hold it in your mind. And telescopes have just confirmed something about it that changes everything. Not everything about one branch of astrophysics, not everything about one corner of cosmological theory. Everything about the story you have been living inside the story about where you are, what surrounds you, what the universe you inhabit is actually composed of at its most fundamental and irreducible level. Let that land before moving forward, because the instinct will be to receive what follows as interesting information about a distant scientific field that has limited relevance to your daily existence. That instinct is wrong. And the reason it is wrong is this: you are not an observer of the universe. You are a component of it. You are not standing outside a system looking in. You are embedded inside a structure whose actual composition, whose actual governing mechanics, whose actual fundamental nature has just been confirmed to be radically different from the model that humanity's most sophisticated science has been operating with for the past 3 decades. This is not a story about space. This is a story about reality, your reality, the one you navigate every day with a set of assumptions about what exists and what governs existence that this confirmation has, or just rendered incomplete in ways that cannot be quietly absorbed and moved past. Here is the horror that lives at the center of this confirmation. Everything you can see, every star burning in every galaxy across the observable universe, every planet orbiting every star, every moon, every asteroid, every nebula, every dust cloud, every atom of every element on the periodic table, every particle ever detected in every particle accelerator ever built, every form of matter that has ever been observed, measured, named, cataloged, and incorporated into the scientific understanding of reality accounts for less than 5% of what the universe actually contains. 5%. Sit with that number. Not as an abstraction, as a fact about the specific universe you are living inside right now. The periodic table, the foundation of chemistry, biology, material science, and every physical technology humanity has ever developed, describes 5% of what exists. The remaining, 95%, is composed of things that interact with none of the forces that make ordinary matter detectable. Things that pass through the most sensitive instruments ever constructed without leaving a direct trace. Things whose existence is inferred entirely from their gravitational effects on the 5% that can be seen. Dark energy, the force accelerating the universe's expansion, comprises approximately 68% of everything. Dark matter, the invisible scaffolding upon which all visible cosmic structure is built, comprises approximately 27%. Together, they constitute the overwhelming majority of the universe's content. Together, they are completely undetected by any direct means in the history of human scientific investigation. And dark matter, the 27%, the invisible architecture holding galaxies together, the unseen mass that makes the existence of every star you have ever looked at possible, has just revealed something. Through the most powerful telescopes humanity has ever pointed at the sky, it does not behave the way the models said it should. The simulations, the theoretical frameworks, the standard cosmological model that has been the foundation of cosmic understanding for a generation of physicists. They predicted a specific behavior, a specific distribution, a specific pattern of clustering and interaction that the observations were supposed to confirm. The observations did not confirm it. They contradicted it at scales that matter, in ways that are not measurement error or instrumental limitation, in ways that are confirmed, peer-reviewed, and now impossible to explain away with refinements to the existing framework. The map that humanity has been navigating by is wrong, not wrong in small ways, wrong at the foundation, and you are living inside the territory it was supposed to describe. You cannot afford to understand only 5% of the reality you are navigating every single day of your life. Let's establish exactly what you are dealing with. Because the word dark is doing enormous and largely misunderstood work in the phrase dark matter. And most people who have heard the term have never been told what it genuinely, precisely, physically means. Dark matter is not dark in the way that a room is dark when the lights are off. It is not the absence of illumination in a space that light could theoretically fill. It is dark in the specific, technical, scientifically precise way. That means it does not interact with the electromagnetic force. It does not emit light, reflect light, or absorb light. It is invisible not because it is hidden, but because the entire mechanism by which human vision and every optical instrument ever built detects anything the interaction of photons with matter simply does not apply to it. Dark matter interacts with only one of the four fundamental forces that govern all known physics: gravity. That is its only detectable signature. It's only a fingerprint on the observable universe. A gravitational influence so massive, so structurally dominant, so cosmically essential that without it, the entire architecture of the observable universe, every galaxy, every star, every planet, every condition that made the emergence of life possible would not exist. Galaxies should not exist. That sentence needs to land with its full weight before you move past it. Based on the visible matter contained within them, all the stars, all the gas, all the dust that telescopes can observe and measure, galaxies rotate at speeds that should destroy them. The physics is unambiguous. The gravitational force generated by all observable matter in a typical galaxy is catastrophically, mathematically insufficient to hold that galaxy together at the rotational velocities that are directly measured. At the speeds galaxies actually rotate, the stars in their outer regions should be flung outward into intergalactic space like water off a spinning wheel. They are not. Every galaxy in the observable universe maintains its structural integrity at rotational speeds that visible matter alone cannot explain. Something is providing the additional gravitational force, something with mass enormous, distributed, structurally essential mass that telescopes cannot directly see. That something is dark matter. And for 30 years, the leading model of what it is and how it behaves, the cold dark matter model, the foundation of standard cosmology, made specific, mathematically precise predictions about how it should be distributed throughout the universe, how it should cluster, how it should interact with visible matter, what the large-scale structure of the cosmic web should look like if the model was correct. The new telescope confirmations show that the predictions are wrong, not approximately wrong, not wrong in ways that minor adjustments to the model can accommodate, wrong in the specific structural foundational ways that tell physicists the model itself needs to be reconsidered rather than refined. The distribution of dark matter at large scales does not match what the simulations predict. The clustering behavior shows anomalies that the standard framework has no satisfying explanation for. And at the boundaries of the observable universe at the largest scales where the model's predictions should be most reliable, the discrepancies are most pronounced. Here is the first shocking truth that has to be absorbed before anything else makes sense. For 3 decades, every conclusion about the universe's past, present, and future, the timeline of galaxy formation, the age of cosmic structures, the ultimate fate of everything that exists was reached using a model that has now been observationally confirmed to be incomplete at its foundation. Every answer built on an incorrect foundational assumption inherits the incorrectness of that assumption. Every projection of the universe's future made with a flawed model of its present. Our composition is a projection that requires revision. The model that explained everything was explaining it wrong, and the telescopes have just handed humanity the evidence it can no longer argue with. Here is where it becomes genuinely, personally, existentially uncomfortable, not the surface-level discomfort of learning something surprising about a distant scientific field. The deeper discomfort of confronting what this confirmation means about the nature of knowledge itself, about the relationship between human certainty and the actual verified depth of human understanding. The first truth. And it is the one that should most fundamentally restructure your relationship with what you think you know. Science, the most rigorous, most mathematically precise, most observationally disciplined truth-seeking framework in the history of human civilization, built its most comprehensive model of cosmic reality on the gravitational behavior of something it could not directly detect. It inferred the existence of dark matter from its effects on visible matter. It constructed mathematical models of dark matter's properties and distribution from indirect evidence. It built an entire cosmological framework, the standard model of cosmology, the foundation of everything known about the universe's structure and history on the behavior of something that has never once been directly observed. And that framework has now been confirmed to be incomplete in ways that are not peripheral to its core claims. The anomalies are not in the footnotes of the model. They are in its central predictions. The most sophisticated scientific civilization in human history was confidently, systematically, comprehensively wrong about the majority of the universe's composition and behavior. Not wrong in the way that early maps were wrong about the shape of coastlines, a level of wrongness that still allowed navigation. Wrong in the way that changes where the continents are. Here is the second truth, or one with the most direct and uncomfortable personal implications. Right now, in the space your body currently occupies, approximately 1 billion dark matter particles are passing through you every single second, through your skin, through the atoms of your bones, through the electrochemical processes in your brain that are generating the thoughts you are using to understand this sentence. Dark matter is not a phenomenon of the distant cosmos. It is here. It is present in this room, in this moment, in concentrations that make all the visible matter around you, the walls, the air, the objects you can see and touch a minority presence in the space they appear to dominate. You are immersed completely, continuously, inescapably in something that your senses register nothing of, something that constitutes the majority of the mass in your immediate environment, something that your entire biological sensory apparatus and every technological instrument built to extend that apparatus has never once directly detected. Your experience of reality is the experience of 5% of what is actually there. And the third truth, the one that closes the argument against comfortable dismissal of all of this as somebody else's problem. If the model that governed humanity's understanding of cosmic structure for 3 decades is now confirmed to be foundationally incomplete, and if that model was built by the most careful, most methodologically rigorous investigators in human history, using the most powerful instruments ever constructed over the course of generations of accumulated scientific work, then what does that confirm about the reliability of the frameworks you have built for understanding your own reality? With less rigor, less evidence, less methodological discipline, and far more emotional investment in confirming what you already believe. The universe just demonstrated that its most careful observers were significantly wrong about most of it. What does that mean about you? Here is what the dark matter confirmation is actually teaching, not about physics, but about the practice of thinking honestly in a reality that is larger than any current model of it. The confirmation arrived because telescopes got better, not because the theorists revised their assumptions voluntarily, not because the discomfort of an incomplete model became intolerable enough to force reconsideration, because the instruments improved to the point where the gap between prediction and observation became too large to explain away, and the data demanded a response that the existing framework could not honestly provide. That is how foundational revisions happen in physics, not through argument, through evidence that exceeds the explanatory capacity of the current model. And here is the shift that this process, repeated across the entire history of scientific revolution, is asking of you. Stop treating your current understanding of anything as a ceiling. Stop organizing. You're thinking around the defensive models that were built before the full evidence was available. Stop confusing the confidence with which an explanation was delivered with the completeness of its accuracy. The standard cosmological model was delivered with extraordinary confidence. It was supported by substantial evidence. It was the consensus position of the most qualified community of investigators in the field. And it was incomplete in ways that only became visible when the instrumentation became powerful enough to see what the model missed. Your mental models about what is possible, about what you are capable of, about the nature of consciousness and meaning, and the limits of human potential were built with far less evidence and far less methodological rigor than the cosmological framework that has just been found wanting. They were built from personal experience, cultural inheritance, the opinions of people whose own models were incomplete, and the confirmation bias of a mind that filters incoming information through the architecture of what it already believes. Here is the mindset shift stated as plainly as it can be stated. The universe is not the size of your current model of it, and neither are you. Every boundary you have accepted as real, every limit you have incorporated into your self-understanding, every ceiling you navigate your life beneath is the edge of your current instrumentation, not the edge of what exists, not the edge of what is possible, the edge of what your current capacity for observation and understanding has so far been able to confirm. Build better instruments. Point them at the assumptions you have been least willing to question. because that is precisely where the dark matter is hiding in the gap between what your current model predicts and what the honest examination of your actual experience reveals. The universe just demonstrated that the gap can be enormous, and that the willingness to look directly at it rather than away from it is where every genuine advance begins. Here is the final truth, the one that transforms everything in this script from fascinating to urgent. You are alive during the most consequential period of cosmic discovery in the history of human science. Telescopes of unprecedented resolving power are confirming things about the nature of reality that rewrite foundational frameworks in real time. The universe is revealing itself not slowly, not tentatively, but in confirmed, peer-reviewed, observationally validated discoveries that arrive faster than the cultural understanding of science can absorb and integrate. And the majority of people are not paying attention. Not because the discoveries are inaccessible. The information has never been more available, more clearly communicated, or more directly relevant to the philosophical questions that every human being is navigating, regardless of whether they frame those questions scientifically. But paying genuine attention not for the passive consumption of science headlines, but the honest, sustained engagement with what these discoveries actually imply, requires something that is in genuinely short supply. The willingness to be wrong about something you were confident in, the comfort with uncertainty that allows a mind to say the model is incomplete, and experience that as the beginning of understanding rather than the failure of it. The intellectual honesty to look at confirmed anomalies in your most trusted frameworks and respond with revision rather than rationalization. Dark matter's confirmed anomalies are not a failure of science. They are science at its most honest and its most powerful, building a model, testing it against the highest resolution observation available, and revising when the observation demands revision rather than defending the model against the evidence. That process requires participants. It requires people willing to hold their current understanding with enough looseness to update. When better evidence arrives, people who have developed the specific intellectual courage, and it is a form of courage of changing their mind in public, of saying, I was wrong, of treating revision as progress rather than defeat. So here is your challenge, not abstract, specific, starting in the next hour. Identify one belief you currently hold about the nature of reality, about consciousness, about human potential, about what is and is not possible in your specific life that you have not seriously questioned in the last year. One assumption that functions as a foundation for how you navigate your daily existence. One model of yourself or your world that you defend more readily than you examine. And ask it the question that the telescope data asked of the standard cosmological model. What would I need to observe to know that this is wrong? What evidence, if it arrived clearly and undeniably, would require me to revise this? And have I been creating the conditions to receive that evidence, or have I been unconsciously and systematically arranging my attention to avoid it? Because the universe does not care about the comfort of your current model. It does not adjust its behavior to match your expectations. It does not slow its expansion or soften its revelations out of consideration for the frameworks you have invested in. It simply is what it is, 95% of it invisible, most of it unknown. All of it operating according to rules that humanity is still in the earliest stages of correctly identifying. And it is expanding right now in every direction at accelerating speed, whether your understanding expands alongside it or not. The telescopes confirmed the horror. The horror is not the dark matter. The horror is how much of reality you have been comfortable not knowing. The telescope has spoken. The only question that remains is whether you are finally, honestly, courageously listening. Start now. The universe has been waiting long. Enough.